Hi everyone, this is Kyle with kayDbait. I wanted to do a video on something that I think people take for granted, which is integrity and honesty and the benevolence of trying to help others, which is not it's not necessarily rare, but it's when it's given, like when people are just trying and trying and trying to help people. I think that a lot of them are taken for granted or taken advantage of. Um, when somebody expresses just a kind word, or here, maybe this will help, or somebody asks for help and you don't even hesitate, you just go and help. I think it's very easy for those kinds of people to get hurt because they're seen as a kind of tool. It's like, I need help, that person always helps, I'm going to use them. And it might not even be malevolence. It might just be laziness. It's like, oh, I'm not going to clean up after myself. My roommate will do it because he doesn't like being in filth, and I don't care. Um, but there's so many different kinds of scenarios where that can play out, in both ways. But I think people don't understand that, and it's not just benevolence and kindness that matters. There's a lot more. There's obviously intention, but there's understanding of a situation. There's tact. There's discipline and stuff like that that's related to being able to influence the world in a positive way. Because you best intentions screw everything up sometimes. Because you don't understand how to actually help, and you're just like meddling, you're a busybody or whatever, and you're like, I'm trying to help, but really you're just messing everything up. So that's important too. I'm not talking about necessarily that. I think that's very, very important. But when somebody honestly wants to help, it's usually really easy to tell. But at the same time, when people aren't trying to help, they'll try to fake that kind of benevolence so that you trust them. And I've had people do that with me. So it like, people that exude friendliness and kindness, I generally trust them more because I think that's a trait that I try to have. I don't necessarily always have it because it's very difficult to keep that energy of, I may feel really bad right now, but that person has it pretty rough, so I'll help them out. That's really hard to do. That's not always. Some people just awesome, but for me, it's like I have somewhere to go, or I have something to do, or I just don't feel like something, feeling lazy or whatever. And then somebody pops online, or they call me or whatever, and they're just like, I need help right now. And I would like to say that every single time I'll jump up and I'll say, I will be here. And I think very, very often that I am. But there were times when I was so messed up emotionally or physically, and I'm just like, I can't do this right now. I need to rest, or I need to go do something else. I need to take care of myself. And it's that later messes me up. It's like, I should have helped them. I didn't help them. Why didn't I help them? And a lot of it's self-justification in my mind, where it's like, they don't need help, or if I help them now, they're just going to throw it away. And like, my help's not really help, and questioning myself, and like, I'm just going to not do anything and just watch. And I think sometimes it's good to have that little voice saying, think about it first, don't just act. And at the same time, it complicates things, but it's a complicated thing. So you're really not making it more complicated. You're just seeing it more as what it actually is. So when I look at these people that simplify a solution, or simplify a problem, or simplify a person, or simplify this very complex thing, I don't like that. None of it is simple. Helping people is not just do A. I mean, that can help. There's always a simple step that can help, but that's not a solution. That's not. I had somebody that used to be my friend. I'll just use a random example. I had somebody that used to be my friend. They're not my friend anymore. But they had a drinking problem. And their problem is they were in love with somebody that didn't love them back because they had a drinking problem. So you're like, I'll date you if you give up drinking, kind of thing. And that person was devastated because this person doesn't love me. This person, because they were dating for a while, doesn't love me. So they started drinking more. And my thing was, if you stop drinking, it will solve the problem of why you are drinking so heavily. And it's a really simple solution, but it's not something you can just say. And I tried. It was years. This was probably a decade ago almost. I was young, and I was pretty dumb. I still am, but I just said stop drinking. Just stop drinking. It's the easiest thing. It's not the easiest thing. I know now that it's not easy to crack an addiction and just crack an addiction. That's stupid. To stop an addiction when you are depressed, when you are anxious, when the reason for your drinking is right there, and there's multiple. There wasn't just one reason. He was already drinking before, and it wasn't just cut the addiction. It was cut all drinking entirely for that person to come back. And so he admitted he had a problem. He knew what the problem was, but I talked to him extensively, and his thing was he was too afraid of changing the dynamic of his life. His identity was very closely associated with drinking for having fun, drinking to relax, drinking to socialize. So if he gave all of that up, who would he be? He didn't think that giving it up would be worth it in the long run because if he has to change for somebody. And it was a very complex thing, but I just told him, stop drinking and all your problems will be done. And that good intention, it didn't help him at all. It didn't, I mean, it was almost condescending because it was like, it's so simple, but we were both pretty young, and we were everyone involved was pretty young. I was probably about 17, and I had the intention of helping. I had this idea of, if I talk to him and I understand the situation, I'll know, but I didn't have the life experience to know what addiction was like. I still don't really know, but I understand enough about people that have had addictions that I can honestly say is like, I should have suggested he go to rehab, or to get a group of friends he can have that don't require him to drink. And he can have a support group within his own family and stuff like that. Things that can help wean him off and help support him when others aren't. They're actually doing the opposite, telling him to drink more, forget his troubles, and blah, blah, blah. He had a very specific, very damaging thing, and I don't know if he's okay. I stopped talking to him shortly after that because of a falling out with a lot of my friends at the time. Again, this was when I was starting to, like, I went to college and then I moved out, stuff like that. But I lost track of a lot of people. But helping people, being benevolent, I think is one of the greatest traits a person can have. But it has to be aware of the situations. Now, I said earlier that it was a different thing because that's what I was talking about before, is not knowing. But now it's if you're benevolent without knowing, you can cause damage. If you're benevolent and knowing, and you're aware, and you're really fighting for things, you can change the world. One person can change the entire world if they're just aware of the social dynamics or of the political, the way it's formed, or just the ability to amass a movement or whatever. And it's one of those really kind of situational events that usually spark because of a building up of tension, and then something happens, and then there's a movement because it has the momentum. When I use momentum, I really mean motivation. A motivation is like something to rally behind, an idea or a concept, and it has to build. It can't just be a kind of a math thing, because then you don't have the numbers, you don't have the effort. Effort is a really big thing that can. Here's I might actually move this to another video, but I wanted to talk about. I'll have to move it to another video. The idea of militaries. The idea of the military's intent is to protect their country, and to protect and serve. That is really the idea of all of them. It's And you can agree or disagree with the morality or ethics of military and wars and all that stuff. I'll talk about that in my next video. But it's the idea of these people are signing up their lives for others, or their family, personal stuff. Some of it is just because they want the pension, or the money afterwards, or to be able to kill people. Those people exist, but I don't automatically assume that's what those kind of people are. I see the people that fight, and I know people right now that are in militaries. I know one person that's from Canada in the military, and I know at least one other person, I think in the United States, it's in the military. And it's just my brother, my oldest brother, is technically he is a sworn deputy. He works in a jail. So I have this understanding that or empathy of these situations, that there are people that exist that sacrifice so that there is safety and that there's comfort. And I know that there are people that can die and that have died or been hurt, or that have others around them be killed. And I respect that idea. I will never, ever criticize somebody who has sacrificed for others. I try to do that and I fail. I understand how painful, at least the sliver of it that I do, that giving yourself and hurting because of it, or giving yourself and seeing others hurt and not being able to help, or any of those things, I will always respect that. The same goes for the smaller step of helping somebody move when they ask, or somebody saying, I need help cleaning my apartment, or you see a homeless man on the side of the street and it's like, are you okay? Do you need something? Those kinds of people, like, whether you're actually helping or not, that's again what I said before, which is the situational awareness and being able to actually exude your will upon this in a beneficial way. But just trying, I think, is a really good first step. And it's hard for me to word it properly without saying, oh, look at me, that's what I do, because I do try. And one of the things that I've always had an issue with, and I've mentioned that before in the videos before, is the humbleness of trying to, the humbleness of saying I'm not that great, while also trying to say to yourself, I'm helping. And it's a very hard thing for people to deal with, because you want to help, but at the same time you don't want to be an egomaniac and say, look at me, I'm playing God or whatever, I just saved that guy's life. It's almost self-defeating, because it hurts your motivation to keep going, because it's like, I'm doing this and no one knows, I'm doing this and no one cares. And that's where I've fallen into that once or twice, and it wasn't really one of the motivations for me starting these videos, but it has come up several times of people accusing me of doing this for attention, or people saying I just like to hear myself talk. And I don't know. I don't think I do. I delete most of these videos that I make without ever posting them. I've passed 3 or 4 videos. I recorded them, I thought they were okay, and then I'm just like, no, I can't post them. Because I got too rambly, or because I thought the content was too, not preachy, but it got onto the example I gave, it got into something personal, and then I'm like, I don't want to use myself as this standard or whatever, and it's really hard to separate so that people can see it objectively and not make it also seem like, you should see me in a positive light. I'm trying to do this objectively completely. If you want to see, or if you agree with it or disagree with it, that's completely up to your interpretation. I'm trying to give information as unbiased as possible. So almost at 15 minutes. So I'm going to end this video here and just say that I am trying to help, and I don't think I'm doing enough, but I also don't really know how to help more. I'll just before I start being stupid again, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it was informative. I hope it was entertaining, and I hope to see you in the next video, and peace.